Welcome back, everybody. So let's do some practice with string. Okay, so I have two problems to solve. So let's try to solve this together. So take your code editor as well, and you can follow me along. Okay, so first problem, we have a given text phrase and write a Python function to return the count of all the English punctuation characters found in the phrase. As an example given, test your program for the phrase, this given phrase. So let me present. Okay. All right. So that's what we have to show. So I'm going to go back to PyCharm, and I already copied my problem here. Okay. So as part of my understand process. So let's try to digest what's given. Okay. So let's read it carefully again. Given a text phrase, which is a string. Okay. Write a Python function to return the count of all the English punctuation characters found in the phrase. Okay, so we need to count punctuation characters. Okay, all right, so let's first write down what's given. Okay, that is the input. Okay, not necessarily the command, the input method that we learned, right? So the input to our function, right? Okay, so input is a phrase. Okay, all right. So what's the output? Right? Return, that's the output. So return number of punctuation characters found, right? So, okay, so I can write this, okay, number of punctuation character. So now we are clear of the two things, the given and the expectation return, okay. So it's really important to identify those two things. So basically, consider like one part of your problem solved when you identify these two things. Okay, and then okay, so we identified those two things. So let's work out an example. So we are given an example. Okay, but before that, let's identify what are the punctuation marks. Okay, so punctuation. Okay, so equals, and we already see one over here, right? So you can write like that, and we have this, okay? So, and these are also considered punctuation marks, okay? So we can write them down, and we have semicolon, okay? All right, and we have the period, okay? And we have two more curly bracket, this, okay? All right, so let's now see if we can how we can count these. Okay, so I say that we only have these characters in our phrase, but our function should be general, right? So given a text phrase, so that text could be any text phrase with any number of any punctuation marks. So we have to be write a general solution, not just for this example. So that means we need to test, I don't know how many, but there are a lot of punctuation marks. We need to check all of them. Okay. So now imagine you figure out what all of them are. Then let's say if you are planning to like check each one of them, and that's going to be really hard, right? So you can see that you will write a lot of if else statements. Okay. Yes, like 20. Okay, because I think we have like 20 something like punctuation marks. Okay, so there's got to be something else we can do over here. Okay, so but the things we have to do is clear. We have to go one character at a time and check against each of these character whether it's a punctuation mark or not. If it is a punctuation mark, we increment the count. Okay, So we can start count from 0, and then we can increment the count as we find punctuation marks. Okay, so we can write it down over here. Okay, so as we iterate the phrase, count all the punctuation marks. Okay, so that's the understanding. Okay, so let's try to figure out a match, and if you can find anything like any iterations, we need to iterate this phrase. So any iteration is a problem. And the other thing is, seems like this is a definite iteration. Any given phrase has a definite number of characters. So it seems like this is a for loop kind of thing, definite number of iterations there, right? So using for loop, okay? So that's match. It's vague. Now, as you solve more and more problems, you will basically create a bank in your memory that could be matching. Okay, so that's the important thing. And then you may even come up to a point in which the match itself, your match, that the problem you have been solving could present the solution itself. Okay, so all right, so let's go to the plan. So now we can write our plan because we have now some data, right? So we have the data. Okay, data, that is the input. Okay, so let's say phrase. Okay, and then so we obtain that. So we can think of this as if it is your function, and it's this parameter. This is going to be the parameter. Okay, so step 2, we are counting, right? So we need to initialize the counter. Okay, so count. So I would write init initialization. It's too long for me. Init count. Okay, to 0. Okay, we start counting from 0. So the next step 3. Now we can write our for loop. Okay, so for, right, we're gonna do this for all the characters in this sequence, this text sequence. So that means for all the letters, for all the characters. Okay, for all characters, I would write for characters. Okay, for characters in phrase, right? This phrase. Okay, now we need to check. Right. All right. So now we need to check if this character is one of those punctuation mark. Okay. So if, so this is 3.1 actually, 3.1. Okay. 3.1. Okay. So if, okay. So now here is the problem. How do we check whether this character is in the phrase? Okay. And we learned that in the class, right? It's the in membership, right? So we need to check the membership. Okay. So for characters in phrase, so if this character in, so now we need to create a list of punctuation marks. Okay. So I'm not saying actual list. We can basically create a string of punctuation mark. For example, we can find out about it and then create ourselves a punctuation mark string. Okay, but do we have to do that, right? So we have Python provided this to us in the string, excuse me, string module. So we just need to call string, okay, dot punctuation. Okay, so that has list. Okay. So now we continue, and if it is a punctuation mark, if this is true, okay, and we're gonna go in. So it's 3.1.1. Okay, step. If this is true, we increment the count. Count plus equal 1. That's it. Okay. So at the end of the for loop, this is step 4. We return count. Okay. All right. So let's write this code now. Okay. So def. Okay. I'm gonna get a name count. That's the verb count punctuation marks. Okay. And I'm gonna write my doc string. Okay. Returns count of punctuation marks in phrase. So we are going to pass the phrase. Okay, that's the input to our function phrase. So in phrase, right? It's clear. Notice that it mentioned all the parameters I pass as well, and it always, if it's return something, I usually start my function name with returns, and then what I returns later. Okay. All right. So let's write our code. So we got this, that's number 1, that's fine, that's taken care of. So let's initialize count to 0. Okay. And now I can even copy paste this because I tried hard to write my algorithm as close to my, code. Okay. So only thing is these numbers. Okay. All right. And oops. All right. So for characters in phrase, that's fine. Okay. And if characters in string, so this is, now it's saying unresolved. That means we need to import at the top. Okay, the string module. So import. All right, there you go. Okay. So count 1, and then basically we return count. Okay. All right. So let's test this out. That's the review. Okay. So I'm gonna write my main program. So I'm gonna call it simply here. So let's call it. Don't have to waste time writing that main program. So I'm gonna call it here with the phrase. So I'm gonna make the phrase equal. Okay. Oops. All right. Equals to this. Okay. All right. Okay. Make sure to convert it to a proper phrase string. Okay. So, well, this need to go. All right. Okay. So let me just. All right. And then I'm going to hit enter here. So one more time. Enter here. Okay. Yeah, good. All right. So let's run this one. Okay. So I'm returning something. So I need to print it to see the value. So let me be more clear for you guys. So the count is, okay. All right. So let's run. All right. So count is 10. So let's see if that is the case. So 1, 2, 3. All right. Don't count these. Okay. It's Python. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we got the answer. So, and let me do one more thing real quick. So if we print, so let's just print this one and see what it is. So those are the punctuations. Okay. So I'm just going to show you guys. Okay. So print. Okay. Oops. Punctuations. Okay, that's a spelling mistake. Okay. All right. So that's equal this. So I'm going to rerun this. Okay. So this is what Python categorizes as punctuation marks. Okay. All right. So that is the first practice program. So let's go back to our next one. Okay. All right. So the next one is, I'm gonna, it's fine. Okay. So our next problem is this. So given a text phrase, write a Python function to print the text pattern as shown in the examples below for both odd and even length phrases. Okay. So this one, programming has 11 characters. So it has to be printed like this. Notice like it's gradually narrowing down like a tapered pattern. And if you have even number of characters, you're gonna only go up to last 2 characters. Okay. So program has 10 characters, so it has this pattern. Okay. So let's go back to solve this problem by understanding it. Okay. So I have over here copied down the problem. Okay. So let's read it again. Given a text phrase, write a Python function to print the text pattern as shown in the examples below. Okay, so let's take a quick example. But before that, let's identify the things being asked. Okay, okay. So given a text phrase, so that's the input. Okay, so input phrase. So that's the phrase is given. Okay, and what's the expectation? So write a Python function to print. So this is really important. So these verbs are really important to identify. It's asking to print. It's not asking you to calculate or return anything. So you are printing. So know that you are going to write a non-fruitful function. Okay. So you are basically going to print in there. Okay. So no return things. So just print text pattern. So let's copy that down. Okay. So output. Okay, there's no return, just print. Okay. All right, so let's continue with the understanding. Okay, so now let's take an example. So the given examples are kind of long for us. So let's take example like phrase equal code. Okay. All right, so just 4 letters. Okay. So well, let's say let's take 5-letter words. Okay. So code, well, let's take a 5-letter word. Let's say count. Okay. So let's take this count. This is our phrase. Okay. So let's write down the outcome. So we first write count. Okay. Okay. And then So I'm gonna make it more centered. Okay. And then OUN, right? So that's the pattern. And the next one, just U. Okay. Now let's analyze what needs to happen, right? So each of these are iterations. Okay. So I have 3 iterations. Okay. And excuse me. And then in each iteration, we take out one letter from 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 both ends. Okay. Um, don't think it as taking out. You're printing only the rest. Okay. So, but remember, we are printing to the command line, and you cannot like position your text in command line printing. It's going to be always from the, the leftmost end in your Python prompt towards right. Okay. There's no other way to write that. Okay. So, so that means you have to, these 2 characters, these are empty space characters, so you have to print them as well. Okay. So printing, then basically once you get to a iteration and you print one after the other. So we know that how to do that. Okay. So when we go to next iteration, we only consider this part, and then we print those characters one after the other. Okay. So now you can see that we are printing each time. So that's the outer for loop. So 3 iterations over here. Okay. And then afterwards, in each of the outer iteration, we need to print these letters one after the other as well. So I can see now there are 2 for loops involved. Okay. Okay. And again, these numbers are certain. So I think we need to use for loops, definite iteration. Okay. All right. So let's figure out what needs to happen over here. Okay. So originally my value of the phrase is this. How do I, using that phrase, how do I get to this? So that's the problem. Okay. So now this is basically, we have the original phrase, and this one. Okay. So I start this one in my phrase. Okay, which is count. So this is count. All right. So phrase. Okay. I need to start printing from, right. So this is the start right here, the 0th character. So I need to basically go for 1, right? So I need to print. So for example, O is phrase 1. Okay. And then need to print, right? Need to print phrase 2, phrase 3, and then that would be it. So I need to stop there. Okay. So basically I need to limit this printing number, okay, based on this count. So this is basically, let's say, step. So this is first iteration. This is second. Okay. And this is third. Okay. Iteration. So, all right. So in the second one, I need to take out 1 letter. Okay. So let me write it this way. This is 0th iteration. Okay. So in that way, it's make more sense. Then this is the first, because we remember our ranges start for the outer iteration with 0. So this is first, and this is second. Okay. All right. Now we can see. So take out. We have 1 over here. Take 1 out from each end. We have 2 over here. So that's the pattern. We have 2 over here. Take 2 out from each end and print the rest. All right. So let's now start writing our algorithm. Okay. So before that, match any for loop pattern. Okay. If you have done your practice exam, we had a one already. Okay. So print pattern. It's a pattern of numbers in P practice exam. Okay. So that's that. Okay. You can write anything like any for loop that also relevant. Okay. So let's write our plan. Okay. So output. Okay. So we are given the phrase. So we need to take that. So first thing we do is data, collect data. That is actually the phrase. Okay. All right. And then step two. Okay. So we can simply go to the for loop. For, okay. So how many times can we do this? For now, we can simply iterate for the length of the phrase. Okay. Um, Later on, we can narrow it down, and we'll see that now. For example, I have 5 over here letters. I only have 3 lines. So there's a relation, but for now we can go for length all the way to the length. Okay. So for iterations, that's my for loop variable for the outer loop, because each step is an iteration. In range, so we need a range from 0 to length of phrase. All right, and then we are inside for loop. So step number 2.1. So okay, step number 2.1. So we need to basically, this is our second for loop. For, okay, again we have to create a range. Okay, so we need to basically, it's because we are going to access this each of these letters by index. Okay, so for letters now, in, okay, in phrase, okay, so, sorry, it should be, it's again should be the index. All right, so for, let's find letters in range. Okay, I'll say we can write like letter like numbers. Okay, or letter indexes. Okay, or let's write that way, indexes. In range. Now how do we create this range? Okay, so in range between, okay, so each iteration we have to start from one beyond that iteration. So one is here, so we have to start counting from one, and two is here, we have to start counting from the second index of those. So this is 0, so C is 0, O is 1, U is 2, right? So that means we have to write basically range from iteration to length minus iteration, right? Because the whole length of the string is the length, and we are stopping right here. So it's length minus 1 in this case. And in here, we are stopping here. length minus 2. So 2 length minus length of phrase, right? 1. Okay. That's iteration. Okay. All right. So this is the range. So it's like, how do we read it in English? Okay. All right. So that is it. So once after that, basically now we are inside the second for loop, and we're gonna print there our characters. Okay. So let's so print letters. All right. So letter, basically we have the phrase. Okay. And then we can write it like this, letter indexes. Okay. Okay. So let's try this out for now. So we have something going. I don't think it's perfect, but we can try it out. So let's go and write our function. So def, okay. So print pattern, print phrase pattern or something like this. And so the docstring, okay, prints the phrase according to the pattern. Okay, so phrase, okay, all right, so is there a spelling mistake? Okay, all right, pattern, okay, all right, so all right. All right, so let's write for, okay, for iterations, okay. So we can, let's write this directly there. All right, so all right, range from 0, okay. So 2 length, len, right? See how easy if you write your plan like this, everything comes down according to the way it has to be. So basically it's the length of phrase, okay. So phrase, and then letter indexes in range. Now in this range, so from iteration to, all right, so length of phrase minus iterations, okay. Okay, all right, so that's our range, and then we basically print, okay. All right, so print phrase, okay, and that's it. So let's try now. Okay, so I'm sure this is not what we want. This will be a good start. So always try to do that. Don't try to perfectly solve your problem in the first pass. Okay, so there are somewhere there's a problem. Let's see what it is. All right, let's just give it a try. Okay, all right, invalid syntax in here. Okay, oh, right here, I forgot the colon. All right, so let's run it again. Okay, so we didn't call the function, so we need to call it. Okay, so I'm not gonna call with that phrase, so I'm gonna reassign the value let's try this one, programming. Yeah. All right. So run it. All right. So, well, it's not what we want, right? So this is like something gibberish. I think we forgot something. So we forgot something fundamental, which is we need to print in a single line. So end equals. So this is the review process. Can we go back and forth? Okay. So let's try one more time. So now it's the other way around. Okay. That's not gonna work either. See that it's programming right here, and then the rest came after that. It's because we are now printing all the iteration in a single line, but we need one iteration. In one iteration, we print in a single line, then we go to the next line, right? So we need to break that. So to break that, we come out of that for loop and print a single just print line, empty line, okay? All right, so we got something going now, but still this is not what we want. Okay, see that? It's not symmetrically tapered, right? Other than that, we have what we want. Okay, so the problem is we are taking out two characters at the end, but and also from the beginning, but still we are printing at the very start of the Python prompt, the command output, right? So we need to adjust that. So how do we adjust? We need to add one each in each iteration, one blank space to the front and another one blank space, one space character to the end. So let's do that. So and it needs to increment as well. So let's try adding just one single space. Okay, and you can simply use string concatenation and add one more single space, and let's try again. And now again, this is not what we want. Okay, so basically in each of the iteration we are adding it, right? So this is wrong, so take it out. Okay, now I can do this. It has to happen in a single line, right? So let's try to print. Okay, and same goes to the end. So once each for loop done, I am done printing a single line. So right here, I need to print this. Okay, so let's try now. Okay, so well, it kind of got tapering, but still not the correct one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, the problem is this: I'm only adding a single space, but the inner for loop contract each iteration that many number of take out that many number of characters, right? So we need to basically add that many spaces to to the the to the front. So that means I need to repeat this space by the iteration. Okay, all right, and same goes at the end. Okay, all right, so let's try this out now. All right, so it seems like we are adding extra. Yeah, it's because of this, and this should be, yeah. So we are adding one extra new line. So see that over here. So let's get rid of that. So that means this need to be end equals nothing. Okay, let's try that. There you go. So we got the answer. Okay, exactly that was asked. Okay, now let's think about it. Okay, we went through a lot solving this problem. Okay, so the question is, so this is, I'd say in that sense, this is a classic review and then evaluate problem. Okay, so so the next step is review, and we are still reviewing, by the way. So we can now make this code elegant. So we got the problem, we solved it. If you present this to an interview, he will be happy actually. Okay, but he will start questioning again. Okay, so do you have to go through this to get this? That's when you have to basically think, okay, how can we improve this code, or how can we make it elegant, make it more concise? Okay, so so let's try to figure things out from the things that we learned already. Okay, so my question is, can I make it in a single for loop? And if it is so, how? Okay, I believe we can make it using a single for loop. Okay, so what needs to happen? Let's go back to our understanding and analyze. Okay, all right, so every time we go out an iteration, I, according to a pattern, I get a slice of this phrase. Isn't that we learn how to slice in this class, right? So this is the original word and this is a slice. And if I write this slice, okay, all right. So out basically out OUN equals, if I take this and so count is the my string should be here as well. All right. So and let's write the slice. The slice is we start from the 0 and 1, index 1. Okay. Index 1 to we go up to 1 less than the length. Okay. So len minus 1. Okay. And that's the slice. And you can write the same slice over here. Okay. All right. And this is u. It's also a slice. Happen to be last character, one single character. And this one minus 2. Okay. And we start from 2 as well. Okay. So now we can see the pattern, right? Here's the iteration number. And here we start our slice. And its length minus iteration number as well. And here's the iteration number. And we start from that. And we go length minus that amount. Okay. So to generalize, right? So you can write ith. Okay. So ith iteration. So the letter is, okay, so the phrase, whatever the thing we're going to print equals, okay, I to length minus 1. Sorry. Okay. So that's the formula we need to use in our for loop. Okay. All right. So let's go back and I'm going to write my new one. Okay. So a second program, second function, 2. Okay. So we need this first for loop. There's nothing wrong with it. In here, I don't need now this for loop. Okay. I put that phrase. So this formula, right? So let me copy it down. Okay. And I can change the values in there. Okay. So we still need to add these. All right, guys. So there's no other way to do that. So plus, so this is not count. So this is phrase. Okay. All right. And it's not instead of I have iterations. So just replace them. Place them over here. And this is the length of the phrase. Okay. And plus int. Okay. So, oh, wait. This, yeah. So that's, yeah. So that's basically, we don't need n because we are not printing character by character now, right? So we just need to add the rest right here, okay? The last missing spaces, okay? So I'm going to add that, okay? So I don't need this anymore, okay? See how elegant now this is, just 3 lines of code, okay? So let's call this again, all right? So it's a somewhere mistake. I think I missed the colon somewhere. Okay. Okay. Let's run. We'll see. All right. So there is syntax error invalid right here. Oh, I didn't make it a comment. So that's why. All right. So, all right. So we did the same. Okay. So that, all right. You got the same result. Okay. Twice. Okay. You can try the even. Even also works. Okay. So now you can see that these are the extra line that it's going to print. They are empty because we came to a point at which there's no more characters. So it just empty spaces now, Python printing. So we can see that, so this is 11, okay? And how many rows do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can basically find a pattern between that number of rows and 11, and then um, print up to that, and then that's taken care of. It's easy calculating that pattern. Okay, so let's try to come up with that as well. Okay, so I'm gonna try like 1-2 minutes to come up with that solution. Otherwise, we got the pattern, so that this should be it. Okay, so basically the reason is we get that many because we are going up to the length. We don't have to go up to the length, right? So it seems to be 1 plus length divided by 2. So let's try to do that. Okay. So integer division by 2 plus 1. So I have 5 over here. Let number of letters is 11. So 5 plus 1. So I have 5. So maybe, yeah, so let's try. Okay. So, yeah. So I think there's still one more. Okay. I think I don't need, but maybe for even I might need. Okay. So let's try. Okay. Now I need that. Yeah. So this basically we need one more. Okay. All right. So there you have it. And then let's try for one more time. So this case, I'm going to change the phrase to programmer. Okay. ER. Okay. So we have, yeah. So let's try for that. See how it works. Yep. So we got it running as well. Okay. So yeah. So for the even number, we are actually printing extra line. So you can actually get rid of that as well. So if there's even, okay, so we don't need to add this one. So we can basically multiply this one by the mod value of the length. Okay. All right. So, okay. So mod, mod by 2. Yeah. So basically, if it is even, mod by 2 is 0, right? So we're going to do that. I'm going to put the bracket to make sure. Okay. So let's try now. So when the length of this phrase is going to be odd, this value is going to be 0. So 0 times 1 would be 0. So we are adding nothing. But if it is 1, which is when it is odd, 1 by 1 is 1, so we're adding 1. Okay, so yeah, there you go. So we taken care of like perfectly printing the requested pattern for both odd and even numbers. All right, guys, that's the classic review, sorry, evaluate process. Okay, so I should have write this under evaluation. That's okay. So here, down here. Okay, so so basically, if this is your interview question, definitely the interviewer going to ask about this. Okay, he will be happy. He or she will be happy if you get to this one. Then the interviewer will ask, well, I like this code, but still messy to me. And is there any other elegant way to do this? And there we have it. Just 3 lines of code, and we still use something that we learned. Okay. All right. That's it. That's the second programming exercise.